Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. So, I am going to go into my accent because, yes, this is a complete spoiler alert. Spoiler alert of Downton Abbey, the movie. So, let me start by saying, if you haven't watched the television series, which has been off for a few years now, that is okay. If you don't recall everything that happened in that series, it is totally fine. Why? Because this is like a brand new story. But of course, if you have prior knowledge of the previous characters, it doesn't hurt at all. Because this is really almost like a separate story. It's focused on a visit from Buckingham Palace, who the Queen and the King of England, I guess way back in the day, and I'm talking about way, up until, the early, I would even say the late 19th century, the royalty would actually travel the countryside just to give presents to their little peasant people and also to take advantage of freebies. Come on, really, that's what they were doing. And what they would do is travel around and they would stay at different estates. Guess what? They didn't pay anything for that. The homeowners were on the hook for expensive victuals and little gimminy gobs, and of course for their home being taken over during those royal visits. So that's exactly what this story is when you go to see the Downton Abbey movie. So some things do happen, obviously, like the cast, other than, I'm going to say a couple people, everyone is former cast. Like, I don't think they had a single cast member say, no, I don't have anything to do right now, so I'd rather just sit on my sofa. Yeah, I'm sitting on my sofa, but I'd rather just not collect this movie paycheck because PBS money was good enough. All of them showed up, but then, like I said, there were a couple, I'm going to say even a few new additions, but they didn't really have the top billing roles or anything. So if you don't know who they are, it's totally fine. You'll learn when you go see the movie because, like I said, this movie is almost like a separate book was written and added just to add. So some of the things that occur. One, Daisy is still Daisy. She's, I'm going to get married to you. I'm not going to get married to you right now, but I think eventually I'll get married to you. Then there's this foxy fine plumber that comes to make a repair on a hot water heater, and she seems to be making googly eyes at him. However, obviously, later on, she's like, I wasn't making googly eyes at him. I'm going to marry you. And I've now decided that because her intendant had basically broken the hot water heater the second time. I know. Don't go see the movie. I'm just saying. He broke the hot water. I'm telling you, it's like still PBS stuff. It's not like he killed the king's horse or he poisoned his majesty's lady in waiting. This is an innocent thing. Like, this movie technically, and I'm telling you right now, it could have been rated G. Other than, I will tell you one reason why it wasn't rated G, and I thought it was like the funniest thing ever. But anyway, so yes, he breaks a hot water heater, and because he breaks it, everyone's like, oh my God, is someone trying to mess up the state visit from the king and the queen? And no, it was just that the fiance of Daisy was jealous, and he's one of the butlers. I don't remember his name. I think it's Albert or Alvin or something like that. At the end of it all, everything turns out fine. She finally is ready to set a date for their wedding. She realizes he's a badass, basically. and he's willing to basically, destroy this visit for her love. So that's enough for her to finally set a date for her wedding. Mrs. Patmore, she's still there. She's still cute. She's still feisty. One of my favorite characters on the show was her. She doesn't really have a big storyline in this movie. She's still cooking. She's part of, because what happens is when the king and queen visit, they actually bring, I would say, 85% of their own staff to do everything. So that means the staff at Downton really isn't supposed to have a lot to do except take care of the other servants that the king and queen brought to serve them. Guess what? They don't like that very much. My thing is, you're serving. Does it matter who you serve? Apparently it mattered to them. And there's this whole thing that happens where the staff flips the script and they end up serving the king and the queen the dinner. And of course, the king and queen staff end up serving them the initial breakfast. So at the end of it all, the Downton staff end up serving the highnesses. And Mrs. Patmore, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing she did is she cooked. That's literally all she did. She had no love interest. She had no weird storyline, nothing. She literally cooked. Then you have, and I may not get all their names right, but you have the butler who, during the show, he went to jail because they thought he murdered some dude that he did not murder. He basically has no storyline. So that's part of the thing that was really weird. Some of your favorite characters have very little storyline in this movie. What they do is they do what those jobs initially would have been in real life. So he butlers. Honestly, that's it. They, him and the housekeeper and she serves Mary. She's like her, I don't know what she is, her dresser. They have a child. There's like, I'm going to say 2 shots of them with their little child who's a boy. There's no mention of the child. There's no mention of the child's name. Even his wife, as you know, during the actual television series, they had a huge storyline over several seasons. She basically has just a wee bit of the plot where she's plotting, if you will, to have the Downton Abbey household take over the service. So honestly, that's pretty quick. It's nothing significant. The other person that has a decent part of the story is Mary, of course. But her part of the story, it's not as salacious as it was when the show was shot, because during the show, she was the one who wanted to have sex, but she didn't want to get married, but she also wanted to have birth control. She's the one that wanted to sleep with a foreign dude, and that was supposed to be like a big deal. None of that takes place, nothing even close to that in the movie. I'm going to tell you, this movie is more G-rated than the television series ever was. And to me, the television series was relatively G-rated, maybe PG-13. Okay, it was PG-13. We'll give that. So, but what she does in this movie is, she's more almost taking on the role of her grandmother, because there's a reason for that coming up. She's adopted her grandmother's ways a little bit as far as being nosy and wanting to have things be her way, and once in a while dropping one of the little quips, because they were very quippy, the older ladies in the original series. So, it was really bizarre. And then Lord Grantham and his wife, other than using their house, it was just very odd. I'm telling you right now. I was just like, When will something major happen? Tom finds another love. Handsome ass Tom. I'm telling you, if I wasn't married, shh, don't tell Al. But Tom, I'm telling you, he looks better than he did during the television series. All put together. Okay, I think I'm ready. So, Tom does find another love interest, really cute lady, kind of reminds me of Sybil, but Sybil, the lady who played Sybil, was so gorgeous. This lady is cute, but the original character of Sybil, gorgeous woman. This lady is cute. She's smart. She's, got her stuff together, and guess what? She's going to inherit an estate as well as the riches that go along with that. I think part of the biggest story was that happening, as well as Tom stopping a plot to murder the king. The king was like 2 seconds from a widowmaker. And of course, Tom, the hero, not attacks, but he tackles the guy. The gun, Mary is there, of course, even though he's telling her, don't be here, it's dangerous, go away, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I gotta see what's happening because I'm Mary. And so she does, she stomps on the guy's hand. The secret police, come in, take over the scene. The king knows that Tom has saved his life, which is awesome. And then, of course, as I stated, Tom gets the girl, but him and the girl were already like making little googly eyes at each other, so you knew that there was something there. And that's that Tom smile. Is that? Oh, okay. But it was really good. So to me, like, Tom had, I'm going to say, a major portion of the entire plot, because a couple different things were happening with him within the plot. The other thing was Matthew. That was another one. He had, I'm going to say, like, a pretty decent hit on the plot as well. Why? Because in this movie, finally, you see him. I mean, he's in the closet because it's still the early 1900s. And in England, even into the 1950s, they could chemically castrate a male if they found him to be queer, as they would say. And so they had to, anything that happened had to be behind closed doors, very secretive, just like it was in, the 1800s and obviously previous to that. So what happens with Matthew is he meets a really nice guy who, they don't hook up or anything like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. Like I said, this is very G-rated. And that kiss, yes, I told you. The kiss that Matthew had with the guy was it was like two 13-year-olds kissing for the first time. It wasn't a big deal. But he does get caught out at a gay, I'm going to call it like a speakeasy, because that's what it reminded me of. Even though there was no prohibition, it was very speakeasy-esque. And so they meet at they go to this place, him and this other guy. They're having a great time. The police raid the place. And Tom's new love actually saves the day for him. So if he wasn't like jonesing on him before, he's Jesus jonesing on him now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that in the future. So that was like a big part of the plot, as well as the head butler who had retired. He comes back and he resumes his position at the beckoning of Lady Mary, because he'd do like anything for her. You would swear that that's her grandpa or something, which is great. I mean, hey, Sometimes the best family are those that have no blood relation because you chose them. You weren't just thrown into the fray. So he comes back and he takes over the duties, which gave Matthew like a week off to go do whatever he wanted to do. And I told you what he did. So, hey. What else happens that's like major? I mean, honestly, not a lot. So these are the things I think are the most important things, and this really comes within about, I'm going to say the last 25% of the movie, like the movie was 75% over, when we find out that Mary's sister, I can't remember her name, short blonde hair, sassy, drives a car, whatever, had the newspaper. She no longer has her newspaper anymore. She has fallen into her richy rich, nouveau riche lifestyle because she married that guy who was like the Earl of Becking, blah, 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 whatever. And he's filthy, incredibly rich. So obviously she's like on a lot of boards. She's doing a lot of volunteering, but she loved her job as an editor. She's not doing that anymore. But guess what? She has a bun in the oven, a hot crossed bun. Okay, if she kept them crossed, she probably wouldn't have a bun in the oven. But she's married. She can have as many buns as she wants. So they're going to have a baby. They don't have it during this movie. You can tell that that will be part of the next movie. The other thing is, Violet, Grandma Violet. She's so sassy during this movie. You are going to giggle. Like, the comic relief during the movie is amazing. Some people might even think it's a little bit of overkill, but it was like, if there was one more joke, it probably would have been too much, or one more quippy quip probably would have been too much, but it was like, it hit it just right and it stopped and it was perfect. But we do find out that she has a terminal disease of some sort. My assumption is cancer, probably. I hate cancer. And she's going to die. She knows for sure that she is not going to live, a lot longer. So she does not die in this movie, but once again, you could tell that's a carryover for a future movie. The other carryover thing is, who's going to inherit Downton? Will it go on in the future? Will they get rid of it? Will they keep it? It was decided it will be kept, and it will continue to be ran and inherited by Mary. So I think what you're going to see is even more of a relinquishment of rights and titles and this and that of that estate to Mary in the next movie. And of course, no one cares. Everyone's just happy that it'll stay in the family and that she'll take it over. No one else wants it, or wants a responsibility. The other thing is Daisy is definitely supposed to be getting married. So unless something happens, she finds another hot cross bun. Okay, we talked about the crossing, but if she finds another hot dude, I hope the guy's name is Andrew, actually. Andrew is her intended. She said that she's definitely getting married. She wants to set a date. She wants to start making plans. So that is something you could see in the next movie as well. I think that the situation with Matthew will be expounded upon. Him and that other butler dude who works for the king and queen are supposed to be keeping in touch, writing each other, etc., etc. He was even given a love token from the other guy. And so they're basically engaged. I mean, come on, you're engaged. It was like, come on, the early 1900s, you are actually married. Can we just say he's married? But he's not married, we know that. But anyway, what else looks futuristic? Not really a lot. Oh, Tom and his new love. It'll be very interesting to see their story hopefully continue. Hopefully he'll find love again. I do feel as if, because Violet is going to die, and I'm telling you, unless there's some miracle cure, I don't think so, because they even had her in the movie being a little bit rocky, a little unsteady on her feet, not being able to rise after she's bowed on her own. I think that that is going to happen. Plus, the actress Dame Maggie Smith. I remember reading that, and I saw an actual interview with her speaking, and she wasn't really hyped up for coming back and doing this. She was probably the only one who was like, why are we continuing this? Why can't we just let it end? Let it be this beautiful, nightmare and just let it be what it is. But I think Julian Fellows, as well as all the others, wanted to please the fans who wanted to see certain things happen that they did not see happen during the actual show, as well as, come on, I said it before, PBS money, national movie, Hollywood money, like, it's just, come on, like, the opportunity is there, it's once in a lifetime, go for it. So that's basically the basics of the movie. I'm going to say, if you're a hardcore out the door fan, you may not be overly excited after seeing this movie. But if you're I have to get anything I can get, any grain that I could get of Downton Abbey, then this is definitely going to appease you with that. Don't go in expecting to see this continue from the television show, because this is really a different story. And it's different simply because it's sort of like if you had a Dr. Seuss book. Dr. Seuss, let's pretend, I don't know how many books he wrote. Let's say he wrote 50 books for children, of course. And each book is completely different and has nothing to do with the other than that sing-song rhyming stuff that he used to do and making up fake words that were not real. And also having some pretty interesting drawing styles. That's what you'll see. You'll see like things that are familiar, but the storyline is not going to pick up exactly where the television show left off. This is just a slice of life where it's like, we're kind of zooming in now, we're coming in for a landing, and this is what's happening as of right now today, moving forward. They don't even talk about the past. So there's no like reference to, in 1897, blah, 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 blah. Or, the only past reference is to a war that took place when their house was being used for the war effort. And that is like a 2 or 3 second mention, like 2 times. That's it. The rest of it is really kind of like moving forward into the future and looking at what they're doing now, as well as, kind of planting seeds for things that will occur in the future, which are what I already told you about. I would like to see, some more storyline on Miss Pat Moore. I would also like to, as I already stated, see more with Matthew's story. And hopefully he, can live happily ever after. And, I can't remember his name. He became a school teacher. It'll come to me. But he was hilarious. If you remember him from the television show, he was one of the butlers. He was an under butler or whatever. He became a school teacher because as far as academics, science, and history goes, the dude is brilliant. As far as service goes, that's not really his vibe. But he actually wants to come back to Downton just so he can serve the king and queen. And, he's literally dancing. He's like so happy. You would think that he gave birth to his own first child. And so he does come back, and I would like to see more of his story in the future, because there's a little love beginning with him and one of the staff members, and we don't see that until almost the very, 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 very end of the movie. So that's pretty much Downton in a nutshell. Honestly, I'm giving this movie a rating, especially for seeing it in a movie theater. Okay, don't hate me because I'm smiling, but I'm giving it a rating of a 2.75 out of 5. Yeah, I said it, 2.75. because it was shown in a movie theater, I expected more. Not that it had to run any longer than it did, just more story that kind of related to what we already know about these people. And then if it came on television, let's say it came on PBS, then I would give it a rating of a 3.25. If it came on one of the cable movie channels like Stars, HBO, Showtime, Netflix, which is not on television, but then I would give it a rating of a 3. So there's no way I could push this to a 4 or a 3.5. That would be unfair and it would be lying, and I won't do that. But, you know, like I said, for hardcore out the door, I'm looking for any speck of information, anything that could link you back into the Downton Abbey story. I mean, you'll probably enjoy it. I would say to go see it later in the evening, because we went at the time that all the senior citizens go, and phones were ringing and people were coughing, and yeah, so you get what you get. But if we went later in the evening, then obviously, you know, you have a different crowd of people there. But it was still, it was a nice day out, and I'm glad I saw it because I was wondering about it. But whatever the reviews are saying about it, they're like, I would say 85% accurate. So take it with a grain of salt. I do feel as if the next movie will be better. I do. I think that what they had to do is bridge a gap from the past to the future, aka what's happening now, the Queen's visit, etc. And I think that the next movie will be more of a continuation. So I will see the next movie because I think it's going to be better. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Velvet Lounge Life. Please do me a favor. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below whether or not you agree with me. I would like to know your opinion. I really would. So thank you for tuning in. Take care. Remember that health is wealth.